All right, so this is an A4M McDonnell Douglas. When I was in during Vietnam, I got to fly in a TA4F. The A4M is the only A4 that never flew in combat. All the other ones, there was a war going on and they got to fly, but the M happened to be between wars, so it actually never got to fly in combat. The device that's up here on the side that moves is attached to it's for the angle of attack for this aircraft. So the wind blows against those vanes and keeps that level. The plane nose can go up or down, but that device will stay level with the ground. That tells you your relationship to the ground, where your nose is in relation to the ground. So that is a very useful device for us, especially when you're coming in landing in a carrier. There are lights on the leading edge of the wing, yellow, green, and red. And those lights correspond to the angle that your plane is at. And the guys, the LSO on the carrier, will see the different colored lights and tell you whether to pick your nose up or get your nose down as you're coming in for a landing. A lot of people, when they look at the device underneath, they think it's a bomb. That's not a bomb, that's a fuel tank. So I ask people, how much fuel do you think is in there? They try to guess how many gallons. Pilots don't care how many gallons they have, because they don't have to pay for the fuel. They do care what it weighs. The more weight you have, you won't be able to get up off the ground. That holds 2,000 pounds of fuel. And that's what they're interested in, is what does it weigh? There's also fuel in the main bag behind the pilot, and the wings have fuels in it. So there's a lot of fuel inside this aircraft. You'll see underneath, there are yellow hooks, and that's what we would hook up for the gear on a carrier to launch these planes off a carrier. In the old days, we had hooks and they would hook cables up that would launch them off. These are 2-inch rockets that you could also have another fuel tank out here if that was what was important. This is a 500-pound bomb. Underneath here is basically radar, electronic radar. It sends a signal out to the ground. It returns and it tells you how high you are off the ground. You have formation lights that are clear so that when you're flying and you want to know where the wingtip is of the guy next to you, these would be lit. Obviously in combat, you don't have any lights on. A red light is over here. On airplanes and ships, you have a red light on the left and a green light on the right. That way at night, when you're flying and you see colored lights, you know which way the airplane is flying, whether you should get out of the way or not. Coming around to the back here, there are trim tabs, and they're on the wing, these little tabs here. But if you're in an airplane that has a stick, if you wanted to go to the left, you'd move the stick to the left, and this wing would go up, the aileron would go up in the air like that. The air hits the top and drops the left wing down. If this aileron is up in the air, the aileron on the other side is down. They go opposite. When one goes up, the other goes down. That helps the plane make lefts and rights. On the bottom here is a flap. Flaps go down to give you lift on takeoff and landings. They're only basically used for that. This top device, it's flat right now, but when you land, they could stick it straight up in the air, and that's called a spoiler. And that's this one here. This guy over here comes out of the side of the aircraft, and it's called a speed brake. If you need to slow down, you can put brakes on, but there's no road underneath of it. So to get this to slow down, you put these big metal plates out, and that's like putting your hand out the window of a car. It gives you drag and slows you down. The A4M, the one we have, belongs to the Marines, and the Marines have a parachute on the back. When they land on the ground, they would put the parachute to help them slow down. The Navy, we don't like parachutes. If we land on a carrier and the hook breaks, we've got to be able to take off again. We don't want a parachute slowing us down. When we land on a carrier, we go to full throttle again in case something happens so we can take back off again. Around the corner here is the tail hook. The tail hook is used when you come in for a carrier landing. This would be up underneath the plane. It would go all the way down straight when they're coming in for a landing. On the old carriers, you have 4 wires. Newer carriers, you have 3. To be considered a good pilot on the old carriers, you had to catch the 3rd wire. That meant that your hook went down into that square between cable 2 and 3, right in the center of all 4 of those cables. And that meant you were a good pilot because you hit it dead center in there.
Hi, thanks for watching. If you like what you see, hit that like button and also subscribe to this channel. For more exclusive content about this museum, check in the description below where you will find the YouTube channel of the museum. Better yet, if you're in the area, go check out the museum. It's one thing to see it on YouTube, it's another thing to see it in person. Thanks for watching.